Texas. Hi, Taylor and Viviana. Ginger. Kelly from Victoria, Australia. Victoria is a big place. I guess you're not from Melbourne, or else you would have said that. I lived in Australia for about 20 years. That's where my kids were born and raised. Sandra, and I've already said your name. Margaret, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Hi, Margaret. And I've got, okay. So I already started it. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce myself and then we'll get going. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching. Sorry, there's a huge wait list, but I will get to it eventually. Or you can listen to our podcast. No wait list for that. It's on all the platforms and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us do it. My daughter and I work together and we do the podcast together. She does all my marketing and planning. So whatever we're doing, she's already told me what to do. So the only thing I'm allowed to handle on my own is the client stuff, the coaching. Okay. Now this is Ashley from Texas. I always miss you for this one. Oh, okay. How do you handle car trips? We have 6 kids under 7. My 2-year-old beats them all up and screams. How do you do? Okay. The training doesn't usually happen in the car. It happens at home or out or somewhere else. Everyone wants to know how you handle the car. You kind of handle your kids at home or outside of the car. And then once you're a leader, they don't tend to fight in the car. Now, what I'm going to tell you here is you got a 2-year-old who's beating everyone else up. But aren't they strapped into a car seat? How are they touching anyone? And also, I never give kids weapons in a car, like toys, food, drinks, or anything. None of that. So they can't throw anything. So I don't quite know what you mean. And screams. Yeah, the screaming you can't do anything about. But yeah, I'm not too sure what you mean by beats up. So anyway, it's just a 2-year-old. Work on the 2-year-old outside of the car, and then tell the other kids to just ignore them when they're screaming because they do it for attention. You got a lot of kids. That 2-year-old has to scream to get attention probably sometimes. Okay. Hi, Tabitha. You weren't there last time. Granddaughter has an awesome birthday. Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, she just turned 2, my granddaughter. She did something really cute. I don't usually talk about funny stories. It's just a funny story. She was, I can't say her name. Let's call her Jenny. It's not her real name. But anyway, so she was sounding out the word cat. It was my son, her father, was saying, oh, what's this? And she goes, seek, a, teat. And he says, what does that spell? And she goes, Jenny. Everything's about her. Oh, that was cute. Here he was thinking she actually is learning how to spell. She wasn't even 2 at the time. Oh, that was funny. They're so funny. Pingree Grove, Illinois. Never heard of that. Hi, Sally. Yeah, and I get a lot of grandparents following me, and they often ask for advice on how you help your kids parent. And I say, if they ask you for your advice, hand it out very carefully, but never offer it if they don't ask. That's unsolicited advice. Let's say you had 100 pounds to lose and a friend bought you a diet book. Would you appreciate that? No, it's the same thing. It's an insult. Any unsolicited advice is basically just an insult. It's passive aggressive. It's criticism. So yeah, just, not your kids, not your business. Unless there's something horrible going on, and even then you got to be careful because they're not your kids. Okay. Like I'm a grandmother, so I totally get that. But I always knew I'd be like this because I never really told friends how to parent or anything. Why would I tell my kids how to parent? It's none of my business. Oh, rural. I can never say rural, right? Rural. It's not rural. It's rural Victoria near the bushfires at the moment. Yeah, I'm not up on all the bushfires. There's so many bushfires in Australia. I remember every time, because I lived there for so many years, and every time there'd be bushfires in Australia, my relatives would contact me from Canada. Oh, are you okay? Well, we're in the suburbs, nowhere near where any bushfire was, but they just heard bushfires and they thought that we must have been in the midst of it. But yeah, it's such a hot climate there, and it's summer there right now too. We love the pod in this house. I have no idea what you mean. Is pod short for something? I don't know. Oh, the podcast. Oh, okay. Thanks for that. My daughter works really hard on that. Thanks for that on YouTube, someone. So anyway, my daughter, we did get some really good editing equipment that you rent out the software. So it's helped, but she was spending like 8 hours a day just editing the podcast. So she works really hard to put that together. We try and she tries to make it as quick and as interesting as possible. We do go off on a lot of tangents because we are best friends and mother and daughter. So you can imagine we talk constantly. So she cuts a lot of that out, and she does a great job she tries to leave in a little bit of funny stuff sometimes, but a lot of it is she just focuses mainly on what you want to hear, what can help you, right? So she puts a lot of work into that. Heather from Maine. Hi, Heather. And hi, Stephanie from Ontario. And Jaha Lim from the Philippines. Welcome. They are next to one another. She reaches them. Ha. Yeah. You got a lot of kids in one vehicle, so of course it's going to be tricky. I can't talk about this because it's not a safety thing probably, but I did have a client who had something up between the kids, and it wasn't, they checked into it. It was safe because I think it was just fabric, and it was just like basically a curtain. And I'm not saying you should do that, but it struck me as funny. They showed me a picture of it. And they said they couldn't see each other. So they kind of stopped fighting. I thought that was hilarious. How could a piece of cloth stop kids from fighting in the car? I'm not recommending it. It's just Danielle from Michigan. What else could that be? Michigan. I thought Michigan was MC. No, it must be Michigan. I don't know. Minnesota? No. Okay. Sorry, I don't know. Oh, I'm Canadian, so I don't need to know all the states. Okay, this is Brittany. My 6-year-old likes to push buttons and get a mad reaction from kids, adults, and teachers. Okay, that means it must work. So yeah, I never show anger, frustration, or disappointment with kids because then they're in charge, okay? I don't want them to be in charge of my emotions or my reactions. I want to be in charge of them. So, and you are the leader, you lead this 6-year-old, and they tend to be good with everybody once you set yourself up as a leader. Check out my free behavior board. It might tell you how to get started with all this stuff. Well, not might, but it will tell you. It's the training wheels with all this. It's completely free. If you want to look into the course, that's the boot camp course. That's not free, but anyway. So yeah, she's in charge. If she's getting everyone mad, she's in charge. Okay. This is Ashley. Love all your content, and aside from my testy 2-year-old, most of your teachings work well with all my other kiddos. Yeah, 2-year-olds are kind of, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers because they're kind of, they're going to do what they're going to do. They might stick their hand down their pants and smear poop on the wall. I mean, they're just forming. They don't have any common sense yet. They just haven't had enough time to develop it, right? Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, connect with toddlers in their world. They're not about the big discussions around emotions and feelings, all that mini therapy stuff that's ridiculous. You'd connect with them with play. You don't go to the nail salon with them to connect with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them, okay? And it's play in their world. And number 4 is discipline, but it's also similar. You discipline them in their world. Not the words, not all these big therapy sessions. A lot of parents are using too many words with toddlers. They're just not there yet. Their main form of communication is physical. So yeah, all these mini therapy sessions, I know they're trendy. I get it. They were invented to make the parents feel good, but they're not, and have nothing to do with your toddler. And number 5, stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed up there. They're just forming. Cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like they're just brand new. Don't expect too much from them. Do they get nicer when they turn 4? 3 is the fork in the road. If you're a leader, when they turn 3, they get easier. If you're not a leader, they get more difficult, or they might just be easy kids by nature anyway. But 3 is the fork in the road, not 4. It's 3. That's when they have the ability to stop and think before they act. They have the ability to start to reason things out. It's almost like they blow up their 3 little candles on their birthday and go, do my parents know what they're doing or not? Like, am I going to take over? Or are they? You see, you want to be the leaders. You don't want them to do that. Okay. This is someone on YouTube, the Smash 37. Okay. Hi there. 3.5-year-old son is undergoing some diagnostic stuff. Well, we don't know about. If he gets a diagnosis of something, autism, ADD, etc., do you recommend private coaching, or is the course? Yeah, I can't really recommend anything with special needs kids other than coaching, because that's personal and I need some background information. But a lot of people who have autistic kids and kids with disabilities find the course helps, or the free behavior board. It's really what I'm teaching is connection. That's all I'm teaching here. And you connect through discipline too, but it's mostly connection. So you can connect with any kid, really. The thing is, if they've got autism or something where they might be maybe more challenging to connect with, that would be coaching. But coaching, I have a huge wait list for that. So yeah, don't know when I'll get to it. And stop blaming your kids just generally for their bad behavior. Past the age of 3, all their behavior's on you. So if your kids are acting out past the age of 3, you should look at it like this. What am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? It's the only way to go about it. There might, nature versus nurture. We just filmed a podcast on that. I don't know if it's out yet. We talked a lot about that. There is some really dominant stuff that is nature, but there's a lot of nurture too. And also the nurture, how you raise them, their basic sort of their behavior, their mannerisms, their how they treat people, all that stuff. A lot of that is nurture. But also once they're adults, they could get in relationships that really can change that too. So they can, form into the whatever they have to do to get along with that new partner or whatever sometimes too. So a lot of what you did nurturing them can be erased by someone else. So their basic nature, if they're more dominant, they might become that way more as adults. Or if they're more passive, they might become more that way. So it can go either way when they're adults, but you just do the best you can while you have them, okay? And then you hope for the best. But nurture versus nature, that's an interesting one. So yeah, nobody really knows, by the way. Nobody knows. If anyone says they know it's 60-40 or 50-50, they're full of crap, because nobody knows. It's ridiculous to think, and that was what that podcast was kind of about, was that we're not sure, but I do go about it as if it is all nurture, because what else can you do? Just, nature. Oh, well, nothing I can do. That's why I say take full responsibility for your kids' behavior, because why not? What if it is nurture? Why not go for that, right? So even when I was working with kids, if they acted out under my care, I was just a volunteer mentor. And if they acted out under my care, troubled teens, all the kids I worked with, I always thought, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? That's what a leader does. A leader blames themselves. You take full responsibility. And these weren't even my kids. Yeah, to blame them is just a cop-out, right? A leader would never blame someone under them. Oh, sorry, I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. Oh, geez. Sorry about that. This is Dietrich. Sorry about that. I won't read it out. It's just kind of, I feel bad for you. Yeah, you just got to do the best you can, and be consistent with just certain things, like just pick and choose what's really important. If you can't address everything, just pick and choose what's really important. But number one is connection with your kids. You connect in their world, not your world. Okay. So yeah, you've been handed a tough road there. So I wish you all the best. How does this look different with kids with ADHD and ASD? Well, ADHD, I don't consider a disability in any way, but ASD, autism spectrum disorder, is more of a disability. Okay. That's the way I view it. ADHD, those are all the kids I worked with. I used to call them alphabet kids. They would literally introduce themselves like, hi, I'm Luke. I've got ADHD, whatever, ADHD or whatever. They'd introduce themselves with their acronyms. I thought, how sad was that? So I used to call myself, oh, hi, I'm Lisa. I'm COL, crazy old lady. So they thought that was hilarious. Like, I don't like labeling kids. And I teach connection, and you can connect with any kid, right? With autism, it's a little bit trickier. I got to find out what works and what doesn't. I need more history. I need to delve into that a little bit more. And I always say with kids with any disability, really, we throw mud at the wall and see what sticks. If it doesn't work, we try something else. That's all in coaching. Yeah, I do coach parents with it. I specialize in crisis work with teenagers, by the way. So yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. Okay, you're lost because you got 3 kids, 5, 4, and 3 years old. Start with my free behavior board. It's the training wheels with all of this stuff. If you want to get a bit more, go up to the boot camp course. If you're going to get the boot camp course, don't do the behavior board on your own first. It will start with the behavior board in the course, but it's way more information to get you started on a better foot, right? But yeah, it's not just, and then you said here, you stop repeating yourself. It's a whole bunch of stuff, right? It's not just one thing. Some people say, I just want your best tip. I don't have one. It's like, what's your best dieting tip? What's your best fitness tip? I guess with all of them, it's consistency. You can't lose weight in one day. You can't get fit in one day. You can't get respect with kids in one day. It's over time, right? It takes repetition and consistency. So I guess that's my number one tip. Be consistent because it takes time. What are your credentials? I don't have any. Thank God, because I would have been under that umbrella. So, and I can say whatever I want. But yeah, I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. And the daycare ladies started asking me how I did that, because they said the kids want to be with you, but they listen to you. I was just a leader. I was just born to do this, I think. And then just throughout my life, I worked in offices and I used to teach fitness, and that's the only jobs I really had. And then I was always volunteering on the side with kids, though. I just found it so rewarding, and quite frankly, I found it easy. And then I started volunteering with troubled teenagers. And they're the ones who said, you got to teach this stuff, Lisa, because they said, you're just different. And so, yeah, that's it. And I was going to be a child psychologist. So I entered some prerequisite course, and they kicked me out because I asked too many questions. This is back in 1980, I think it was. And what they were teaching was garbage. It was so patronizing. And I said, I would never talk to a kid like that. You know, they were sort of giving us the overview of how we were gonna end up. I just thought it was crap. Anyway, and then the other students started asking me questions. So yeah, they couldn't get rid of me fast enough. I should have held out and they would have paid me double to get rid of me. But I just took the refund and got out. Thank God I never did that. Would never have suited me, because I don't want to learn about kids in school. Kids taught me all this stuff, right? Yeah. So I'm out in the trenches, and I got a couple of kids myself. I think there's 3 criteria. If you're going to, like, a lot of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. Parenting is different. It's personal. Okay. I couldn't do those jobs at all. I wouldn't have a clue how to do those jobs. But that's business. This is personal. It's completely different. I would never take parenting advice from someone who didn't have these 3 credentials. One is they have to have finished the job with their own kids. How can they teach parenting if they haven't lived with teenagers? It's ridiculous. Also, they have to have found it easy and fun. I love parenting. I thought it was a riot. So they have to have found it easy and fun. Why would you take parenting advice from someone who struggles? It doesn't make any sense. Also, I didn't learn much with my own kids. I was a leader from day one, and everything kind of was, they were self-disciplining. So they have to have worked with tons of other kids, because it's experience-based. And I didn't work with like big groups of kids. I worked one-on-one with kids who were struggling behaviorally. So I started to understand. I was like mothering them. So it was sort of the mothering role. It's the way I looked at it. But anyway, that's my spiel. Okay. Now Jennifer's asking, and the strategies for teaching emotional regulation for big feelings for boy or girl, twins age 3.5. I don't talk like that. When you're a leader and you're calm and you're fun, when you're calm when you're disciplining and you're fun when you're playing, that they emotionally regulate, because they feel very safe and secure under a leader. So that's what regulates them. You don't teach it to them. It happens organically once you're a leader. Okay. You never yell. I've never yelled. I was never yelled at either. So yeah, you're calm during the storms and you're crazy during the rainbows when you're playing with them. My mom used to ask me, she goes, how do you do that? You're chasing them around the house with underpants on your head, yet they respect you. And as a leader, I didn't know, I wasn't teaching it at the time. So I didn't have all the lingo on how, I teach it now. So it's different. I don't teach what I did. I teach what you need to hear to get where I was, because I couldn't teach you what I did because I never struggled. Right. So, I teach you that the behavior board is something I would never use. I want them looking right at me. But when you're learning how to do all this, you want to start with the behavior board. It gets you all organized. And it's a visual cue also. And you only deal with one thing at a time. I would go in and deal with everything in one day. But I'm level 10 with all this because I invented all this stuff, right? So yeah, kids taught me all this. I could never have learned this anywhere else. Where's the course at? BratBusters.com. If you go on there, you know what I would do personally is, by the way, it is a business, yes, but I'm in the caring field, If I were you, rather than just go out and buy a course, because I might have said something that you like, don't just buy the course right away. Check out the free behavior board. Check it out first. If you go, yeah, I want more, then then do the course. Okay. I would also check out on YouTube. There's 7 podcasts that we did. It's in the playlist, and it's our 7 podcasts, and it covers all the basics of everything I teach. We did that in 7 days, 7 podcasts in 7 days. We did that in November, I think. So check all that out. Don't go right in. I know some people do that. They go right, oh, I like what she just said, I'll buy her quiz. Don't do that. Check it out first. Look at the free stuff first, and then decide if you want to buy into it. Because if you're not buying into what I'm saying, you're not going to do it anyway. You want to go, yeah, she makes sense. I'm ready. I'm going to do what she says. I'm going to follow this. So yeah, it's like anything. You don't buy something if you don't really believe in it. Don't waste your money. And coaching, it's very expensive, and there's a huge wait list. These are people who've been following me for quite a while. They've decided they really want to hire me and wait to get in. So, but that's not my main thing. My main thing is all the free stuff, and then the courses. That's great if you want to buy one of those. But I'm here to make a difference. I'm not here the money is secondary. I'm here to make a difference. I believe in leadership parenting. Makes kids feel good. And when they feel good, they do good. I want kids to grow up. You know what I want? I want your kids to grow up and say, I'm going to parent the same way I was parented. My kids have both told me that. Now, that's the ultimate consequence. That's not consequence. That's the ultimate outcome. When they say, yeah, I want to parent the way I was parented. There you go. It says it all. Right from the source, right? Can only one parent be a leader if dad is not participating? Yeah, they can. But they have to back you up. Like I was the leader in our household. Not that my ex-husband didn't want to parent. I mean, he loved it. But he knew that this was my strength, was all the disciplining and all that. That was my strength. I wanted to do it. I used to say, don't mess him up. I got lots of experience. So, but he backed me up. Like if the kids had ever tried to push him around, he would just say, do you want me to tell mom? And that would have been it when they were little. And then they didn't push him around either when they were past about 3 years old. So, but yeah, you want to be on the same page, but one is usually, you can both be the leader, but one is usually a bit more dominant. The leader is the one the leader can also be the craziest playmate too. It's not that you're more serious. It's just that you've got this leadership stuff figured out, right? So the leader is the one that they'll tell everything to right through the teen years. Oh, that's really sweet, Ashley. I'm happy about that. If you see me out in public, someone said the other day, they said, uh-oh, you better watch out. There's the BratBusters. She's gonna get after you if you don't straighten up. Don't use me to threaten your kids. I said, no, I'm not on the clock right now. Oh, I want to make this clear too. I said that what they were teaching in child psychology prerequisite courses was garbage, which it was. It was very patronizing. That was 1980. I'm sure they've come a long way. Okay, I want to defend that. But I just knew it was ridiculous at the time. That Please Your Parent style was coming in hardcore, and I kind of think that's where it was coming from. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm going to hop over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. If not, check out my website. It's bratbusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses. You can look into coaching. There's a huge wait list, but I will get to it eventually. Or you can listen to our podcast. There's no wait list for that. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms. We do 2 a week, every Tuesday and every Thursday. And we film them and we put them on YouTube if you want to watch them. Also, if you want to look at our 7 podcasts in 7 days series, it's all the basics of BratBusters. That is literally, it's in the playlist on our YouTube channel. So it's 7 podcasts, and it's all the basic information around what I teach. And really, if you want to know what I'm all about, or if it sounds good to you and you're really interested in looking into it, Google BratBusters Pool Story. It's a story that sums up how I treat children. I deal with bad behavior, but then I focus on the good kid. My theory is if they feel good, they do good. If they feel bad, they do bad. Okay. Oh, good for you. Good for you, Krista. She said, you really have made me feel like I can do this parenting thing. Love the structure. Excellent. Perfect. You can do it. Anyone can learn this. Okay. It's not like I'm not brilliant. I just have a lot of experience with kids. Anyone can learn this. Okay. I'm hopping over to Instagram now. Happy parenting. Oh, and I'm on YouTube the whole time, which is where I save these lives. Oh, they keep changing how you do these things. Darn, got it. Sorry, YouTube just takes a second. There we go. Okay. Oops. I don't know. Was it last night or the night before? I can't remember. My timer wasn't working. I put on 15 minutes for each platform. So my timer wasn't working. And I thought, well, this dumb thing, it wasn't going off or anything. And then I realized it takes batteries back here. Not very bright, Emily. Anyway. And then I got the giggles. So. Okay. Why do people retract messages? It's on YouTube. I see it quite often. Message retracted. What are you saying that you need to retract? My mom we used to write back and forth when I first moved to Australia back in 1989. And I was there for about 20 years. Anyway, and we used to handwrite every single day. We'd daily journal. And then once a week, or maybe twice a week, we'd send them these big fat letters. My mom and I were best friends. So we do all this. But if I whited something out, she said, I scratched it out to see what you'd whited out. So from then on, I just scratched it out without using the whiteout and just kept rewriting. Isn't that hilarious? She was just curious. She goes, what did you have to white out? But yeah, we did daily journals. And then when, I love handwriting. So then when the internet came out and emailing and that, trying to transfer her over, she was in her 70s at that point, trying to transfer her over to email was hilarious. But anyway, then we ended up emailing every single day. And then she was in her 80s, so we moved back to Canada, and because I'm the only daughter, and it's just different with daughters, right? And so I wanted to be there for my mom, and she died in my arms 10 years ago. It was beautiful. But anyway, so we moved back here, and then we found out, and I moved, of course, close to her, and I saw her every single day. And then we missed the emails. So literally, we live 5 minutes away, but we started emailing every single day again because we just both love writing. So isn't that funny? Okay. Thank you. You're truly such a help with our new generation. Lizmantha. Lizmantha. We don't know how you pronounce that. I've been out here for 20 years teaching this. I started my business, actually, it was 19 years ago, and in 2007, and no one listened to me. People, God, they hated me. I mean, I did well. I went on TV a lot and radio because people, I got things stirred up. People would write in, who the hell is this idiot talking? Because that pleaser parent style had a firm hold on parents. Now they realize it's crap and it didn't work. And you're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. That was what I always used to say. I still stand by that. So I really believe in what I teach, but people weren't ready to hear it. And I really only got popular 3 years ago. So here I was all those years. I never gave up. I was just getting by. I never gave up. I believed in this. And finally, people were ready to hear it. If you really believe in something, no matter what let's say you have something you really think can help people, don't ever give up. Because, I went on TikTok and blew up overnight. I think people were just ready to hear it. And I didn't know that, My daughter said, go on TikTok, Mom. I think it's for you. And it was. Okay. This is Annex. I can't read your name. Anyway, I don't know what it is. Anna maybe. Okay. Do you recommend, it's on YouTube, do you recommend a toddler that is 3.5 to go to daycare, or is it better to wait for kinder? I can't answer that because I don't know. You never know, like it's such a gray area. Like, is it daycare or kindergarten? I don't know. You got to make that call, and you never know. You just got to make decisions along the way with your kids and hope it works out. And you can have 10 kids and they won't all, the one decision won't fit them all anyway. So you can have one kid that daycare would be better and the other one it wouldn't. So just do what feels right to you. I remember agonizing over my son, sending him down to this really elite boys' school that was like about a half hour to a 45-minute drive away. And his high school, the local high school, was like a 5-minute drive. So, but then I thought, why am I doing this? Like, I thought, is that much better? You're paying $10,000 a year and whatever. That wasn't the money. It was just it had this great reputation. And I agonized over that. I really did. And so you agonize. You don't know. Was it? We did end up sending him publicly because I wanted him nearby, right? And I agonized over that. And who knows if that was the right decision? You never really know. You can't go back in time and say, gee, let's try it again the other way and see which one's best. If it's a gray area, this is one thing I often say, and yet I don't listen to my own advice, but I often say, if you're agonizing over a decision, neither choice is probably bad, right? My son's a brilliant decision maker. And I asked him that. I said, how do you make decisions so quickly? And he goes, well, if I stop and think about it, then it must mean that either decision is okay. So he just goes like that and makes a decision. Interesting, eh? Like, yeah, I always remembered that. That was years ago he told me that. I thought, wow. Okay, here, I'm going to read this out and I'm going to tell you why. Are you aware of the increasing prevalence of pervasive demand avoidance, and what are your thoughts? No, I don't follow that kind of stuff, all the lingo. Nope, don't comment on it. I stay in my lane. I teach connecting with kids. I don't get caught up in what's out there, because kids taught me this. They don't care what's out there, by the way. Kids taught me what makes them feel good, what they need from me, right? How to make them feel good, and that's how I get respect. They just want leadership. They just want to feel good about themselves. They want to have fun. Fun is their love language. You know, if you worry about all this other stuff, all these trendy acronyms and sayings that are out there, you're missing the point. Just play with your kids, correct their bad behavior, then play with them and have fun with them. That's all they want. Oh, wow. Okay, Jessica, you've got your 2-year-old granddaughter full time now. Wow, for the last 6 months. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that's helped. Oh, don't get caught up in what the consequences are. If you check out my free behavior board, there's a bunch of them on there. It'll give, the consequence doesn't matter. It's just that you have one. Don't get caught up in what it is. Just make sure it's consistent. But yeah, there is no perfect consequence. That's not the point here. Oh, you didn't put the age down, so I can't. I was going to answer that, but I need the age. Oh, someone asked how you handle food and snacks. I'm not qualified to discuss nutrition, so I stay away from that like crazy. But I will tell you what I did with my kids. One of my kids was fussier than the other. Like, they just have different palates, right? But I knew what they liked and I cooked around it. So I didn't try and make them eat liver and onions. I didn't say, well, if I made it, you have to eat it. That was just my personal choice. I'm not saying you should do that, but I was really good at sneaking healthy stuff into stuff. I made everything from scratch, and I hate cooking. God, it was awful. Anyway, but if I made a pancake, it had grated carrots in it, or so. You know what I mean? Like, I was always sneaking stuff in. So that's what I did. And yeah, you can just, that helps at all. I don't know, but I was very good. I did cook around their taste buds, and I made everything from scratch. All the bread, everything was made from scratch. Although one time I didn't make pasta from scratch, except once I did. And I made it a few times. At one time I made ravioli. And if you know what that's like, you have to flatten out the dough, roll it all out. Then you put it in this little press thing. And it was awful. Anyway, I made it, and they raved about it. I had my husband and 2 kids went, oh, wow, can we have some more? I'd spent all day making these little, like a little serving each. And that was the last time I ever did it. Yeah. Aw, how sweet. Dump the kids with grandma. Gee, Tabitha. The pressure's on. Now I feel like I have to be really interesting. Oh, that's cute. Tabitha's usually in my lives, and she's always on YouTube. So she just said she scarfed down dinner and dropped the kids off at grandparents so she can come back. She's got really little kids. Someone just said they've got a 3-nager. Yeah, because they're 3-year-olds, obviously a little bit nuts. So according to them. Anyway, whenever I hear someone say, well, she's 9 going on 19, I always say, no, she's not. We'll talk again when she's 19. You know, it's very different. And also when they're 9 years old up to 12 years old, the tween years with girls, they often are masking or pretending to be older, but they're still little kids. They're just nowhere near like a teenager. Once those big hormones start to kick in, and there's a lot of peer pressure out there in the world with teenagers, and yeah, it's completely different. Don't rush it, is what I'm saying. Navigating a 3-year-old with a big personality. Those are great kids. You know, those are the ones I usually worked with, were the ones with big personalities. They might be feistier. They might be strong-willed. That's a good thing. That means they have some balls, excuse the expression, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you have to guide them into making good choices. That's all. And that's all I'm teaching here, is guiding them into making good choices. You don't want to make decisions for them. You want them to make their own decisions. That's why if I see a kid Like a good example. Let's say I saw a 4-year-old knows darn well they're not supposed to touch something, but is going like this to touch it. There's no way I would say don't touch, unless it was dangerous, obviously. But if they're, I wait, I let them do whatever they're going to do. Now, a lot of parents say, don't you touch that. If you touch it, now all of a sudden you want them to be obedient to you. That's ridiculous. I let them do whatever they're going to do. Then if they touch it, I'd say, oops, you shouldn't have touched that. So here's your consequence for doing so. I let them make their own decisions, and then they have to be accountable for those decisions. I want them to realize life is really up to them. I want them to feel like they have autonomy in their own lives. Okay? Like I used to tell my kids, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of it because that's my job. I'm your mom, right? So in other words, there's going to be, you're going to be accountable. So if you make a poor choice, but I wouldn't go, don't touch, unless it was something dangerous. It was a toddler maybe, but you see where I'm going with this? Don't try and prevent bad behavior. Let them do what they're going to do, then come in with a consequence. Like the pool story. I saw that kid walking over and getting the whale. If you've listened to it, just Google BratBusters pool story. I saw what he was doing. Why would I not say anything? That would be ridiculous for me to say something. Like I wouldn't do it. I waited till he got the whaley in the pool and then I took action. Right? Because if I'd said to him, don't bring whaley in the pool, remember I told you, he would have kept pushing for the rest of that day. Think about it. Wouldn't he? Don't bring whaley in the pool. Okay. And then he would have tried again and again. Then he would have pushed and tried other stuff. Instead, I'm just like this. I'm like, do whatever you're going to do. But watch out, because I'm going to be jumping in the pool to get you. Like, you see, you let them make their own choices. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Love your approach, but your story about when Amy dropped her ice cream and you didn't buy her another just broke my heart. Please take her out for ice cream tomorrow. Yeah, she's 31 now. Anyway, when she was about 3, she was very clumsy. And I was really worried because I thought when she gets older, if I don't train her out of this so that she really thinks before she does things, she's going to walk in traffic. Like I was terrified. So I made it a real thing. I was going to train her out of this. So I said to her, sweetheart, and this isn't stopping bad behavior. This was just, sweetie, just so you know, we never got them ice cream. Like we just didn't get into junk food, but I was out with a friend. We went to McDonald's. So we got the kids ice cream cones at McDonald's. So I said to her, she was just 3. And I said, sweetie, if you drop that, you're not getting another one. She went, okay, bang, dropped it right away, like instantly. And I never got her another one. And I did feel horrible about it, but she didn't complain. She knew, but it didn't happen again. You see, it was part of my plan to train her out of this clumsiness. She just did stuff without thinking. It was just, it was in her DNA. Genetically, she was wired that way. But I trained her out of that because I was worried about safety. That's why. So yeah, we often laugh at that. And my friend even said, oh, let me buy her one. I said, no, we can't. I said, I'm teaching her a lesson here. So, and she never complained. She just sat there. Yeah, it was rough. Yeah. I'm not perfect. Maybe it was a better way of doing it, but I would probably still do it again. Yeah. Because that was my concern, was the safety. But I'll tell you a funny story. It's an ice cream story, and it wasn't McDonald's. It was at Hungry Jack's. In Australia, Burger King is called Hungry Jack's. Like they rename a lot of stuff over there. Anyway, so we went to Hungry Jack's, and I was 8.5 months pregnant with my daughter. My son was, I think he was 4, just turned 5 because she was born 2 weeks after he turned 5. So anyway, and he was not a physically precocious child. Like he wasn't adventuresome at all, right? Which is good because he never fell or anything. He wasn't doing unsafe things. Anyway, I guess it was the heat. I had summer babies in Australia, like later, like December kind of thing. And over there is summer. So anyway, I was hot and I was heavily pregnant. And he said, Mom, can I go up on that slide? And it was one that you had to climb up this really big ladder like this. And there was a wire cage around it, which is silly because if you fall, you're going to go straight down anyway. But anyway, there was a wire cage around it, safety thing. You get to the top and there's a little platform. And then there's this giant enclosed windy slide that goes like that. Now, if I had been thinking, if I hadn't had baby brain or pregnancy brain, I probably would have said, no, sweetie, because you're going to get to the top and you won't want to get down. You won't want to do it. You'll get scared. But I said, sure. And then I just sat back and it was just like this. And he gets to the top and he goes, I'm scared. And I knew right away. I made a big mistake. He's at the top, his chin's quivering. He goes, I can't do it, Mom, I'm scared. So I said, okay, I'm coming up. And I was mad because he shouldn't have done that either. He knew. Anyway, so there was other people around. They said, we'll go up and get him. I said, no, he's just going to want Mom. I have to do it. I went up with my giant pregnant belly, and I was trying to hold it and protect it going up this. And I had to keep moving sideways to get my gut up this. Oh, it was awful. And I'd have to sit it in between the rungs as I was going up. So I finally got to the top. When he saw the look on my face, he went, uh-oh. So when I got to the top, I just picked him up and I threw him down like a rocket. Didn't say a word to him. So I could hear his head clunking on the sides as he's going down. He comes to the bottom and he goes shooting out like a rocket and lands right on his back. So, and then I said, get out of the way, I'm coming down. So I had to go down because I couldn't do the ladder again. So I'm hanging onto my pregnant belly and I'm going down, my head's banging the sides. I landed the same way on my back. When I got down there, my son says, can I do it again, Mom? I just said, we're going home. And that was it. Never did that again. But anyway, stupid mother. Oh, I kicked myself after that. But I knew. When he said I'm scared, I knew I had to go up. And I didn't want anyone else to go up. They would have helped him down the ladder. I wanted to shoot him down that slide. That was my intent. Okay. And you know what, too? There's not a big lesson in that, I don't think. Just I'm stupid. But, he didn't fight me. He actually felt better that I came up and did that. If I had coddled him and said, okay, sweetie, we're going to go down the ladder and it's okay, he would have started crying. He just would have. I don't do that kind of stuff. I just take charge. I'm a leader. You're going down the slide. That's what's happening. So it calmed him down. And he loved it. He wanted to go again. Okay. It keeps glitching on me. Sorry, I'm trying to read this. I can't read the name. Okay. My 4-year-old daughter will push other kids' boundaries by slightly pushing them in line, etc. How do I correct that if I'm not always there? During her jujitsu class, I don't want her to be a bully. You ask the teacher. Say, can you please tell me if she's being a bully in the lineup or bossing them around or whatever? And then if she does, just say, I understand that you were pushing other kids aside in the line, so here's your consequence. Okay? Yeah, I would do that. Tabitha, yeah. I had a lot of fun telling that story. I've got so many stories about my kids. I've actually got a book. I kept a book on that, on all those funny stories. And there's lots about me too. I messed up a lot too. So. Sorry, I'm just scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here. Any tips for spitting? 2.5 years old. Yeah, spitting is usually quite a quick fix, although I have a client, this didn't work at all. So we had to do something else. But when they spit, this is what I do. Because I don't treat spitting as more like a bad habit rather than bad behavior, which it is a bad behavior. But anyway, what I do is I always have a nice cold, wet rag handy. So if they are spitters. So I make sure that when they do spit, I go, uh-oh, and I go over and I take my time wiping their mouth. They hate having their face wiped. So I take my time. It's a nice, cool cloth. Don't hurt them, but they don't like it. And then you clean up the floor, whatever they spit on. Every time they spit, they're going to get that cold, wet cloth wiping their face up. And just go, uh-oh, and then just wipe it up. And they usually learn. But like I said, we had to do something else with this other kid because it didn't work. He didn't mind. And I'm not recommending this, but I've had clients who've kept a rag in the fridge and in the freezer. I don't like the freezer one because it's too hard. But I'm not condoning that stuff. But yeah, they say it works in one day. But you got to act like it's not a big deal. Oh, well, we'll just get you cleaned up. What if my 3-year-old doesn't want to be around other kids at all? That's okay. They can still be around other kids. So what if they don't like it? That's okay. They're going to have to learn society. They're not going to get an entire city to themselves one day, They got to learn that the world belongs to not just you. It belongs to other people too. Okay. Overall listening. Yeah, you can't do that. This is Meg Beck. You said that you want to put the rule on the behavior board as listen to us. You can't do that. That's in the attitude department. You haven't earned that respect yet. That's like you're writing down, you have to respect me. You're demanding something that you haven't earned. That's what I'm telling you. So what I would put down, get them to do a chore. They have to do, the rule on the board is they have to put their shoes and jacket and bag away within 5 minutes of arriving home. That could be their rule. Okay, and time it. If it's not done, then they get a consequence. So, but yeah, you can't put, listen to me. That's absolutely never going to work. It's in the attitude department. You haven't earned that yet. They listen, or it happens organically. They respect you once you set yourself up as a leader. You can't demand it before you're a leader. Like when I was working with kids and raising my own, I earned respect. I worked for it. I didn't expect it to be handed to me. And I worked with troubled teenagers, and I earned, believe me, I worked for it. So yeah, you got to earn it. Yeah, you can't expect what you haven't earned. We got a lot of 3-year-olds in this group. I'll be honest, most people who watch us seem to have toddlers, but in coaching, I would say it's mostly older kids and teenagers in coaching. But in people who ask questions anyway, it seems to be mostly toddler parents. And it's interesting because I really specialize in troubled teenagers. So that's how I started my business. But you know, I always say, if you can't handle troubled teens, you shouldn't be teaching parenting, because you got to know where you're going. You got to know about those teen years before you got to know how to get there really well, right? As a leader. So yeah, whenever I talk to parents with younger kids, I'm always thinking in the teen years. I'm always thinking, I know how to get you there easily. Like I know how to get through that. So I'm always trying to set you up for success in the teen years. But yeah, and oftentimes we'll do, my daughter and I talk about this all the time. I would love to talk about trouble stuff with teenagers and that, but when we do, it's just like bomb. No one looks at it, because most of our audience has toddlers, which is interesting, isn't it? And I don't even know how these other people find me, like who hire me, are not toddler parents usually. They are too, but it's not the majority of my clients. But yeah, those videos or podcasts that we do about teenagers or older kids or just connecting, they just bomb. So we still throw them in because you need to hear that stuff, but they're not, you know, what's the point in putting stuff out if no one listens to it too? So you got to kind of balance that out, right? I got a 3-year-old constantly hurting the baby sister. Yeah, I often tell this story. I had a friend, my daughter and I were just talking about this today, actually. I had a friend like 35 years ago, and we used to get together a lot for play dates because our little boys, they were about 1 and 2 at the time. Like, you know, they grew up. I only really saw her for a couple of years. So the kids were like 1 and then 2, babies and then 1 and 2. So anyway, they were very gentle little boys. So we often got together because they never hit or anything. So we thought, oh, great. You know, another gentle little boy. You don't want your kids to get beaten up. So anyway, so she had a gorgeous little baby girl, and her son was 2 years old. This gentle, sweet, non-aggressive little boy. I guess after about a week of having this newborn in the house, he was sick of it. Behind her back, he picked it up out of the bassinet and threw it on the floor. He didn't understand concussions and soft spots and broken necks. The baby was okay, but what a scare, eh? Never trust a toddler or a little one around a baby. Just protect the baby, and eventually they should grow out of it. There's things you can do. Go to the behavior board and you could say, don't touch the baby or don't hurt the baby. That could be the rule for a 3-year-old. Do not hurt the baby. And if they do, there's a consequence. Any advice for boosting 9-year-old daughter's confidence, boosting her consequence. Anyway, boosting her confidence. Confidence and self-esteem are 2 different things. I really aim for high self-esteem. So maybe you're talking about that. They can go together, but they're very different. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself, and confidence is how you throw yourself out into the world. Like a lot of confident people will get up on stage, but they may have, like a lot of actors and comedians have very low self-esteem. They don't think much of themselves at all. So I always try and aim for the self-esteem, right? Anyway, so yeah, if you want your child to have higher self-esteem, just work on your leadership skills, because you're empowering them to think for themselves and make their own decisions, right? And you're also connecting with them. If you're not connecting with your kids, I wouldn't even discipline them. If you're not connecting with kids, I would never ignore a tantrum or discipline. You connect before you do any of that. What do you do when you ask your 5-year-old a question and they lie? Okay, just put on the behavior board, no lying. Just say it like it is. Don't worry about all this woke stuff. They don't care about it. Just put down the rule is no lying. And when they lie, there's a consequence. Okay, you got a 14-month-old who's getting into everything. Child-proof your home, so it's all safe and everything. And then, so what if he tantrums? Everyone wants to know how to stop tantrums. You don't. Just follow through with the right thing and let them have their tantrums. Check out, and I do use diversion with babies. They're babies up to about 16 months old. So I got sirens going by. I live downtown. Anyway, so yeah, the tantrums are just their own process. You don't want to avoid tantrums. You want them to have them so that they learn how to get them out of their system. You don't want to stop tantrums. You want them to have them. Yeah, that's okay if they're so inclined. There's 4 things they're born to do or they're never going to do. It's in their DNA. One is tantrums. One is aggressive behavior. The other one is running away from you in public or just running. And the other one is climbing. Those 2 last ones often go hand in hand. They're more physically adventuresome, but they're things that they're born with, but they're things you got to train them out of. Okay. So don't do things. If you know you're doing the right thing, don't avoid doing it because you're afraid of a tantrum. Then they're in charge. Parents say, well, what do I do? If I do this and I do follow through, then they're going to have a tantrum. I'm like, good. You're doing the right thing. Let them process your leadership. That's okay. It's like that 8-year-old that I was asked to work with. I use this example all the time because it's so fast and it's such a good message. I knew he was a handful. I hadn't met him yet, but I'd heard a lot about him. And they said, would you be willing to work with him? And I said, sure. So as soon as I met him, he says, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. It was all, and he looked relieved. It was like, oh, finally, someone who knows what they're doing. A leader, finally. That's all he was asking for, right? So now kids, when they're acting out, do you think they feel good about themselves? Low self-esteem, right? It's not toddlers. Toddlers are different. They're just forming. But past the age of 3, if they're being snotty and being rude to their parents and hitting people, they don't feel good about themselves. My goal is always to make kids feel good about themselves because when they feel good, they do good. When they feel bad, they do bad, right? So, yeah. Do you work with children with ADHD and is your approach with the behavior board? Yeah, it's all the same. Those are all the kids I learned all this with. My kids didn't have it, but almost all the kids I worked with had ADD, ADHD, WXYZ. They were all acronym. I called them alphabet kids. Because I teach connection, right? How to connect with kids, how to get the best out of them. Oh, thanks, Kathy. I appreciate that. It's just common sense, isn't it? It's just common sense. One thing that comes up all the time is parents want to talk about bad behavior. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to discuss it? You deal with it. Here is your consequence for hitting someone. Now, do you want to go play a game? They already know right from wrong. Past the age of 2 or 3, they know right from wrong. Why do you want to discuss it all the time? Now, parents will say, I want them to understand. Think about it. Do you speed because you don't understand you shouldn't? Do you maybe pay your taxes late because you don't understand that you shouldn't? Understanding has nothing to do with our behavior. It's our lack of impulse control. It's our ethics, our morals, right? It's the lack of consequences, right? It's not understanding. It's your basic, your life's rules, your pride, your dignity. It's all that stuff that we're teaching kids here. They already know right from wrong. Why do you want to discuss it? It's just mean. It's just mean. Okay, it's a bit tricky. I'd need to look into this more. So that would be coaching, and you don't need me for that. 3-year-old is very bossy when playing with others and doesn't like to share. Should this be on the behavior board? You got to pick one thing out of that. Okay, you can't say bossy, it's in the attitude department unless they do something mean. So what I would say, if they don't like to share, I would put down no grabbing toys off other kids. That could be the rule. No grabbing toys off other kids. That is the rule. So keep it simple. It's not a character assassination. It's a physical thing that you're after here. Don't grab things off. I would put that down. Oh, what if they act out before bed? You say, we'll discuss it tomorrow. And don't worry, you don't discipline at night. You don't get kids to do chores at 8 o'clock at night. No, you say, well, if it's during bedtime, say, I'll tell you what, we'll discuss it tomorrow. So if they broke a rule, you do it the next day. And don't get caught up in what the consequence is. Just check out the free behavior board or the courses or whatever, and it'll explain what consequences are. But it doesn't matter what they are, really. It's just a good deed. So they did something naughty, they have to do a good deed. If they don't do that, then you take something away. But check out the free behavior board. It explains all this. Okay, I've got to okay, I'm not going to read that one out because I haven't got time for that. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to be moving over to TikTok. If you don't want to join me over there, check out my website. It's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses, coaching. Sorry, there's a big wait list for coaching, but I will get to it eventually. You can look into the podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us. And we do 2 a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Anyway, and I just want to thank you for your support on that podcast. We were the goal, there's millions of podcasts out there. My daughter just started us a year ago on a podcast. And the goal is you're really, really lucky if you get 10,000 downloads in the first year. That is considered fabulous. So that was our goal. We hit 1 million downloads in the first year. That's because you're listening, and we could not be more appreciative. But you know what? We're not in this for us. I know that sounds crazy, but I've been doing this for 20 years. And my goal is to help. I want you to enjoy parenting. That is my goal. You know, when parents say to me, you help me enjoy my kids, you help me find the fun in parenting. That is our goal. That is our goal. So it just means hopefully I'm helping more people, right? So yeah, but thanks so much for the support on the podcast. It has blown our minds away. I won't go into it, but it is just, we did not expect that. So who would, right? So thanks so much. We do our best. My daughter's in charge of the podcast. She does all the editing. She comes up with all the ideas. I can't plan anything out. I don't work that way. So she never tells me anything that we're going to be working on. She just does it all. I don't know what we're going to be talking about until we start filming. So, but yeah, she's in charge of all that. She does a phenomenal job with all that. She does not work for me. We work together, and she's kind of in charge. If anyone who's been watching us for a while knows, she's the boss, not me. So yeah, I'm more lazy. She's the hard worker. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to TikTok, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. See, this is not working. It hasn't moved because I kept thinking I've been on here a lot longer than that. So it is not working. I put new batteries in it too. And sometimes it does work, but it hasn't worked. Oh, well, I'll just keep it as a prop. Okay. Oh, thanks for that, Tabitha. Yeah, the teen years are the ones those are the years I think parents are more nervous about, understandably, because when things go wrong, they can go really wrong, right? Their mistakes are a lot bigger and more dangerous when they're teenagers. When they're little, not so much, but yeah, you want to prevent all that. When you work on your leadership skills when they're young, you can kind of sail through those teen years. There will be hiccups along the way, but nothing big. I don't talk about my kids a lot. I tell a lot of funny stories and that, but I protect their privacy. But I would love to tell a lot more stories about the teen years. I tell a little bit more in coaching, but because that's more private. But yeah, I would love to tell more stories about the teen years. I loved it. It was fun. And even though I'd worked with teenagers, until you've lived with them and raised them and seen them into adulthood, you don't know what you're in for. You got to go through it. It's heavily experience-based. One thing that I wasn't prepared for was there's 5 years between my kids, and I was a single mom. So this was, I would say, the hardest thing of parenting for me was by far when my son would be out late, and it was always discussed. It was fine. So he'd be out late, and my daughter would have been 12. I couldn't leave her home alone. So I used to have to wake her up at 1 or 2 in the morning to go and pick up her 17-year-old brother. It was the hardest. That was the hardest thing in parenting for me, was having to wake up my daughter to go and pick up my teenage son when he was out. It was awful because I just hated waking her up. So that was my biggest challenge in parenting. It was never behavior or anything. That was it. But I wanted him to be able to go out and have fun. And I wanted to drive him home. I didn't know if other parents were drinking or whatever. I wanted to drive him home. I wanted to go pick him up. Okay. I don't quite know how TikTok works. TikTok boycotts Canada. Like they don't pay us any money to be on TikTok. We'd be rich on TikTok if it did, because I've got almost 1 million followers on here, and I've been filming. Like we put out 1 or 2 videos a day, and I used to do lives every single day for a couple of years. And but we do have some money on here. I think in 3 or 4 years, I think it's been 4 years now since I went on TikTok. I think we've made $500 in 4 years. So, and I don't even know if that's real money. It just looks like we might have $500. So I thought that was funny. But if we lived in the United States, we'd be racking in the dough on TikTok. But yeah, we don't. But that's okay. I'm not complaining. Yeah, we're boycotted. That China doesn't want to pay Canada for some reason. The Canadian creators, they don't want to pay us. So yeah, it's fine. I'm not complaining. But I did just say something came up and it said you've got $548 on TikTok. And I thought, I don't know if it's real money or what. Because we don't, if there's any ads on anything that you see, it's sort of automatic. Like on Facebook, it's automatically they run ads, but we don't work with any sponsors or anything either. So maybe one day we will, but right now we keep it all we're very careful. You got to put down an age, Katie. Okay. Do your methods work with foster kids who've experienced severe trauma? That would be coaching. I do crisis work and trauma and PTSD, all that stuff. That's coaching. Abuse, all that stuff is in coaching. I can't give general advice to kids who've been through trauma because I don't know what it is. And every kid's different. That depends on the situation, depends on your relationship with them, depends on if the parents are still in their lives. And it's so complicated. But yeah, that would just be coaching. Okay. 3-year-old copying bad behavior from school. This is what I say to parents. By the age of 3, between 3 and 12, you're at the height of your leadership. Their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. If you're not a leader and you send your kids out into school and out into the world at 3, they are very vulnerable to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to go searching out leaders elsewhere. When you are a really calm, strong leader for your children at home, they're not susceptible to other kids' bad behavior. They're just not. Okay, so work on your relationship with your kids, work on your leadership skills. That's all you got, right? That's all you've got is your relationship with them. Yeah, because think about it. If you have really high self-esteem, right, which is what leadership gives kids, you're not susceptible. You're not likely to follow bad behavior. You're not likely to want to do that. It has a different, like your leadership spreads everywhere at the age of 3. They take it everywhere they go. I call it the leadership umbrella. They carry that umbrella everywhere they go because they like themselves under the leader. You make them feel good, right? So why would they act out? How can I introduce my 2-year-old to their newborn sibling? It doesn't make any difference at all. You can do it perfectly or horribly, and they're still going to do what they're going to do. So the introduction to me doesn't make any difference at all. Some parent, there is no right and wrong way. It's just, are they going to adjust well or not? Yeah, I don't know. The only things that you can do is, like, let's say you're feeding the baby. I would make that fun for the 2-year-old too. I would have like a little basket, a goodie basket that they only see when you're feeding. So as soon as you start feeding the baby, you say, okay, let's get the goodie basket. And then you're reading stories to them or coloring or whatever. So you make it their time too. So, and the baby's right there so that they connect the baby with good stuff, right? The baby just doesn't take mom and dad away from them. The baby actually, they associate it with something fun and good. But even then they might, never trust a toddler with a baby, with a newborn. That you can't expect them to be responsive. They don't understand. She is 6 and getting disrespectful when told no. We have multiple talks. The talks do nothing. Zilch. You're doing the therapy session stuff. I won't say what I normally say about that, but I would never do it. You just use the behavior board and put down rules and consequences. And you cannot put any attitude on there. Their poor attitude is a result of your parenting. Okay. You can't expect respect if you haven't earned it. You got to work for it. You got to earn it. Do you earn respect? Do you ever yell? Are you inconsistent? Do you play with her in her world? So yeah, you've got to earn respect. So you can't put that on her. That's on you. Never blame your kids for their bad behavior. It's on you. Work on yourself. I teach parenting, not kidding. So yeah, get the free behavior board. It's at BratBusters.com. It'll tell you how to start all this stuff. And if you want more, you can go to the course. If you want even more, the coaching. The coaching is sort of, my daughter said, quit apologizing for the wait list and that. You don't need coaching. Like if you do, it is a big wait list, but it's sort of the elite stuff with all this. Most people won't hire me for coaching. I can't fit you all in anyway. So that's if you're really going through something, or if you got tons of money. Lots of people just want me in their back pocket to ask questions all the time. So they just hire me over and over again. If you got tons of money, I'm just like their personal trainer. They've got a whole bunch of people on staff kind of thing, right? But I also say, if I'm not making any difference, I don't want you to keep hiring me, or, I'm going to fire you. So I have to make a difference, or else why would I do that, right? So, but anyway, coaching is sort of, most people don't need that, but I think the course is really good. We've worked really hard on those 2 courses, and I think they're really good. But if you're dealing with something different, or really, traumatic, or just got a lot of kids or whatever, then coaching. But the podcast, one of the reasons we did that is that has the most, I go into the most detail in that, and it's answering your questions. So we get to as many, my daughter picks and chooses the topics and the questions. So that's answering your questions. So if you have any questions, that's where they go. I can't possibly answer other, questions. I've got a couple million followers now. So it just gets to a point where you can't answer comments or anything anymore. But we do, if you send them in for the podcast, we might get to it. If it's something that we haven't covered, but we might have covered it already. So if you really are going through something, just look into the podcast. It goes into the most detail there. Okay, good question. It comes up a lot. Are we worried about chores being consequences as they get older? Worried about that being an issue? Who cares if they don't like them? You got to learn to do what you need to do before it's good that they don't like them. That's okay. You want kids to learn how to do the stuff they don't like. You don't want to make everything fun for your kids. That's the pleaser parent style. You're rolling out the red carpet. You want them to have participation awards. You want to buy them the brand new car when they turn 16 at just the perfect color that they want. Do not go out of your way to please and make everything easy for your kids. You want them to learn how to do the hard stuff. When my kids were 15, they were dying to get part-time jobs. They were all excited about it, and they did. I was praying they'd have to clean a public toilet. It wasn't their main job, but both of them got stuck on a day where they had to clean the public toilets. Some horrible mess had happened, and there was no one else around. I was thrilled. I wanted my kids to learn how to do the hard stuff. So yeah, don't worry about chores not being fun. They're not supposed to be. Okay? So yeah, they got to learn how to do stuff they don't like. What activities should I be doing with my 12-month-old? Well, just singing, dancing with them, playing whatever they do. You mimic it. If they're banging something, I go in there and start hitting it with them, and enter their world as much as possible. You can change it after you've entered in their world, but if a 12-year-old was sitting just doing that, I would start doing that, and then they look at you differently, and then you can just play with them. It's all physical. It's all fun, dancing, carrying them around, just being silly. Yeah, and if they cry, I pick them up. If a baby cries, I pick them up. So I remember I had someone said to me once, geez, you're going to spoil your kids with love because every time they cry, you pick them up. I said, what's your point? Look, if a baby cries, I pick them up. I don't care if they just want to be picked up. That's what they're going to get. Yeah. Yeah. Best way to address 4-year-old using bad language. Put down no bad words or no swearing or whatever, no potty words, whatever you want to call it. That's on the behavior board. No bad words or no name calling. No bad words or name calling. Okay. And also, let's say you put that down. A 4-year-old, they might not do this, but as they get older, they will. So you put that down, they'll go like this. Oh yeah, F you. I didn't say a bad word. And then I would say, well, that's what you're hinting at. So here's your consequence. I wouldn't even give them a chance. Like I wouldn't even give them that one free pass. You see, they're going to sometimes they will manipulate stuff like that. One of my favorite stories, well, it's not just one story, but a bunch of kids do this. You put on the behavior board with teenagers, with boys especially, this will happen. So their rule is dirty clothes go in hamper and nowhere else. So in other words, their dirty, stinky clothes can't lay on the floor, and then 12 hours later, they go in the hamper. So you take them off your body and make sure they have a hamper handy, and right in the bathroom or in their bedroom or everywhere, right? So as soon as those dirty, stinky clothes come off their 15-year-old boy or whatever, off his body, they got to go right in the hamper. Or anyway, this is what a lot of young, and usually about 15 years old, they'll do this. They'll take off their dirty clothes. They won't put them anywhere, but they'll hold them all day just to annoy the crap out of you. Some of them even take them to school, and their friends laugh at this. It's hilarious, right? So, and who knows, they might put them down at school, might put them in their locker, but they'll take them to school and everything. So you don't know what they're doing. And then they'll get in the car after school, and you don't say a word. And parents say, well, what do I do? I say, don't say a word. Just pretend you don't even notice. I might put a clothes peg on my nose, so I talk just to kind of play into it, but I wouldn't say anything. Anyway, then, so they haven't broken the rule. They haven't put them anywhere else, right? So this is how they manipulate they're sort of find the loophole. So anyway, and then they'll sit at the dinner table and they'll have these filthy, stinky clothes in their hand, and they'll be eating like this, like just to get at you, right? So I say, that's when you say something. You sit back in your chair and you look at them and you go, well done. Like, I think it's funny. Have they broken the rule? No, I think it's hilarious. So they haven't broken the rule. Think about it. When you put a rule on that behavior board, if they found a loophole, I would applaud it, and then I would change it and say, okay, from now on, it has to go in there within 5 minutes of taking them off. You see? So yeah, I think that's great. I would love that. If a kid did something like, they did stuff like that with me all the time, like when I was working with kids, and I went, well done. That was clever. Very good. They love that. It's funny. It's funny. Yeah, a lot of parents get uptight about all this stuff. Yeah, think about it. Isn't that funny? I think it's hilarious. Oh, whining. I already talked about that. Whining I don't put as bad behavior. I consider it more of an affectation. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of patience, but whining gets on my nerves. I can't stand it. It's the equivalent of a vocal fry, with a very affected girl, you'll usually do it. Oh, I don't know. It's kind of that cool, I don't care about anything. It's called vocal fry. I put the whining in that same kind of category. I can't stand either one of those two. Or baby talk. That's another one I can't stand. If adults baby talk, a good girl, oh, I didn't know. Oh, God, it drives me insane. Anyway, my daughter, she hates that too. Anyway, so those are all affectations. So it's not bad behavior. It's a vocal or a language affectation. I consider whining to be that. So here's what I do with whining. If this kid's 5 years old, I would say, I'll tell you what, every time you whine, I'm not going to answer you, because whining is annoying. And when you talk like this, but I realize you probably don't even know you're doing it. So from now on, every time you whine, I'm going to touch my nose, and that will let you know that you're whining, and I'm not going to talk to you. But as soon as you talk nicely, I will answer you, but the answer may still be no. So that's how you do whining. It evidently works really well with tons of people. So, but yeah, I don't treat it as bad behavior. You kind of taught them how to do that, because they don't come out of the womb whining. It's something that they've learned to do because it gets on your nerves, and they always get attention when they do it, right? So yeah, it's something you've taught them. Uh-oh, I'm running out of battery. Okay, I've still got a few more minutes on here. How do you know your kid is just throwing tantrums and not needing additional diagnosis? I can't answer that. I'm not a doctor. No. If you're really concerned about your child's welfare, take them to a medical practitioner and have them checked over by a professional. I can't answer that. I am not qualified. Plus, no one could answer that. The child would have to be looked at, right, and assessed. You asked, this is someone that's here, any suggestions for a stubborn, was it 5-year-old, 6-year-old boy? Consequences, the behavior board. You can't be stubborn, like stubborn doesn't come into it. Here's your rule. If you break it, here's your consequence. If you're too stubborn to do it, then I've got a second consequence to back it up with. So I don't care if they're stubborn or not. Their personality trait has nothing to do with my leadership. Like I'm still going to be a leader no matter if they're stubborn or not stubborn. Or what if they refuse? There are 2 consequences. You haven't seen the behavior board. Check it out. There's 2 consequences. They have control over the first one. You have control over the second one. If they choose not to do the first easy one, then you do the second one. And also, I always treat, like, here's how if a kid does something naughty, here's my tone of voice. Oh, well, that was an interesting choice. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to get you to do. You see how I'm talking? There's no anger in it. None. If you talk with a stern voice, you're annoying. Like, it's just annoying. You know, like, what if your spouse said to you, I don't like the way you did that. From now on, what I want you to do, it's annoying, right? It brings out the worst in you. Whereas if he just said, look, I'm not really happy with the fact that you're late all the time. Is there any way we can, change? You see that kind of, I'm working with you and here's what we're going to do. You see that, you got to watch that. Parents use this, they like to use this stern voice or yelling or all that. It just doesn't, it makes you look weak. Makes you look like you're afraid of them. Whereas if you just say, oh, okay, that was an interesting choice. You broke a rule or you did something bad there. So here's your consequence. Okay. You got 15 minutes to sweep the floor or whatever. And there you go. 15 minutes starts now. See my tone? There's no anger in it. It's just a matter of fact tone. No anger, no judgment. If you look angry, frustrated, or disappointed in your kids, you're doing it wrong. Okay, your 7-year-old daughter, she just started having huge fits and extreme anger thoughts. Oh, I don't know what's going on. That's very unusual to start at that age. So I don't know what's going on. Either you've changed something or something's happened at school. I don't know, but it's an unusual age to start having fits. Usually they start when they're toddlers, like 2 or maybe 2.5. They usually start with that behavior. But to start at 7, I would have to assess that. So can't answer it. How do you become a leader parent if you've been the emotionally reactive one? Someone told me a while ago, it was so clever. They said, you are responsible for your own emotions. Everybody is. I can't help you with your emotions. That's your job. I can tell you what to do, but I can't tell you how to feel when you're doing it. That is your responsibility. Someone told me that doing it during a live. It was just a few days ago or last week. I even wrote it down here and I haven't changed it. But yeah, you are responsible for your own emotions. I can't help you with that. Yeah, I can't. Reminds me of when I used to teach fitness. And I remember a guy said to me, he says, I can work out great when I'm here. But he says, how do I get myself here? I didn't even know how to answer that. Like, how do I said, but I use a lot of humor in my life. Someone said to me the other day, they said, you're very funny. And I go, yeah, I am. I've just always been funny. So, but people get used to that. So he took it very well. But I said to him, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. The class starts at 6. So what I'm usually up at 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alarm for 4:30. Give me a spare key to your home, and I'll drive over there. I'll let myself in. I'll bring a wet fish, and I'll hit you over the face in bed with a wet fish, and then I'll get you dressed and drive you there. He went, point taken. You're responsible with getting yourself to the gym, controlling your own emotions, not eating the cake in the fridge. You see, I can't help you with those things. I can tell you ideally what you should be doing, but I can't make you do it. That's the problem. And I've been struggling with this for 20 years, how to tell, because people keep asking me, how do I deal with my emotions? And this person just gave it to me a few days ago. I'm not responsible for your emotions, and I can't help you with them. That is your challenge here. And I do that too. I've got certain things I procrastinate with. And if I was to say to someone, how do I get myself to do it? They'd look at me like I was nuts. Well, I don't know. How do I get myself not to eat that chocolate cake in the fridge? Well, I don't know. Like that is your challenge. That is the hard part, but I do it too. Like how do I get myself to do that thing I hate doing? Well, it's not their problem. It's my problem. But we all do it, right? Does your method work on children with autism? It can or it can't. That is coaching. Any special needs is coaching. I have to assess the situation, what's worked in the past, what hasn't. And I'm assuming they have all sorts of support on the side. I only teach parent-child relationships. So, I'm not qualified to discuss autism, but I've dealt with a lot of parents with kids with special needs, and I've worked with a lot of kids with special needs. But, it's, they're all different, especially autism. They're very different. Yeah. Do you discipline when the kid is feeling sick? No way. They get whatever they want. If they're sick, they get whatever. All the rules fly out the window. Yep. If they're sick, you meet their needs and manage their wants. If they're sick, their needs are being cared for and taken care of. Yeah. It's like, I never co-slept with my kids, except when my daughter was a baby, we did. But if they were sick, I crawled into bed with my kids all the time. And, whatever they want. In the middle of the night, I'd get them up and watch TV if they were sick, So we'd get up and watch kids show in the middle of 2:00 in the morning. So yeah, all rules go out the window when they're sick. Okay, 6-year-old doesn't listen to anything. I feel like if I punish after every behavior, it'll be too much. Yeah, that's on you. If they don't listen to you, it means you're not a leader. Don't blame them for that. Work on yourself. Connect with them. Connection is everything. The discipline is secondary. Connection is number one. Connect with your kid. Bond with them. Play with them. Their love language is fun. So play with them. Be connected. Listen to them. Don't yell at them. Anyway, keep listening to the podcast. Actually, I have a 7 series. What's it called? I always forget. It's on YouTube, and it's BratBusters Parenting. And we did a whole series, 7 podcasts on all the basics with all this stuff. So it'll give you a good, just like BratBusters. I never know how to look this up. Well, I never look at my own channel. My daughter does all this stuff. Okay, so if you go on BratBusters Parenting on YouTube and you look up playlists, it's in there. And it is called Calm Leadership Parenting Series. And there's 7 videos and there are podcasts. And it's all the basic stuff. So if you go in there, it'll just sort of set you up and it goes into detail. Okay. So and people who can't afford coaching or don't want to wait for the wait list or whatever, go check out that 7 series. It'll give you a lot of basic information. One of them is, the very first one is Foundation and Core Concepts of Calm Leadership Parenting. The second is Why Connection and Fun with Your Kid is So Important. See, I put that before discipline. Connection and fun with your kids is so important. It's everything. Number 3 is discipline. Number 4 is handling the parenting chaos, tantrums, whining, all that storm kind of stuff. And then the 5th one is the Toddler Parenting Guide, moving past the overwhelm. So the toddler stuff. And then the 6th one is 3-year-old transition. So you're transitioning into 3-year-olds from toddlers. So you're transitioning from toddlerhood to childhood. The 7th one is raising confident problem solvers. Okay, so that's the 7 series. So I'm really trying to push people away from coaching because there's just such a big wait list. We've really struggled trying to figure out how to manage that. We just kept upping the price and it got bigger and bigger anyway. So we're not upping the price right now. I'm trying to send everyone to those videos instead, or the courses. I have 2 courses. Anyway, okay. And I won't be coaching forever. It's not something we need in the business. It's just, I love coaching. It's my absolute favorite thing to do in my business. I go into a whole other dimension. I love it that much. It's like a Zen. Oh, I just love it. I love it. Okay, because I'm not a mother anymore. My kids are grown. They're 36 and 31. So when I've got my clients, I feel like I'm mothering. It's my maternal stuff that I get to exercise again, right? And I only have my daughter 1, maybe 2 days a week. She's 2. So, I have all this maternal energy, and that's where I throw it. I throw it into coaching. Anyway, I got to run. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out the website, BratBusters Parenting. And on there, BratBustersParenting.com. And is that what it's called? No, BratBusters.com. What is it called? Jeez, Lou. BratBusters.com. That's stupid me. Because I was just talking about the YouTube channel. Anyway, BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board courses, coaching, and look into the podcast. I was just talking about that. It's on all the platforms, and we do 2 of them a week podcast. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting.